Will these skinny talk tips actually work? Hey everyone, I'm Abbey Sharp. Welcome back to Abby's Kitchen. Skinny talk has absolutely blown up over the last couple months. And you guys probably know that I'm not a fan of the whole skinny talk situation, and I've already made a whole video debating its merits and why it could be potentially problematic. But my thoughts aside, there are still countless folks online who claim that skinny talk has changed their life. It's healed their relationship with food, and of course, it's helped them succeed on their weight loss journey. I mean, I'm a 90s kid and a 2000s teen, so I have lived through an era where these exact same tactics were used, and like all of us millennials are now screaming about how it f***ed us all up.
Don't do it.
And ultimately, I'm a science girly, and as such, I do try to park my own experience and bias aside to thoroughly analyze diet trends. So today we're going to be diving into some of Skinny Talk's top tips, try saying that 3 times fast, and weight loss hacks, and seeing if the science backed them up. Now, before we get into it, a very quick warning that of course we will be discussing extreme weight loss, disordered eating, and calories. So if that is not something that you're comfortable with, please tap out on this one and I'll catch you on the flip side. Also, we have so much fantastic content over on my new podcast, Bite Back with Abbey Sharp. I would love if you would check that out if you like more evidence-based content. And for all of my folks who are coming here from Skinny Talk, before you tell me I am cherry picking Skinny Talk mantras or recommendations, yeah, I kind of am, because I just cannot cover them all in one video. But believe it or not, I don't actually think every single thing said on Skinny Talk is bad or scientifically wrong. There are even some elements that I think have some merit. But I gotta save all of those for another video. So just keep in mind that I'm only hitting like a couple of its tenets in this particular video. I'm not reviewing the movement in its entirety. Okay, first, let me hop in here super quick to tell you about my sponsor, Nutrafol. So if you guys recall from my video a few months back, I have been dealing with hair thinning basically since the fall. And my dermatologist and my ND both recommended Nutrafol supplements. There's a lot of hair growth supplements on the market, most of which are basically just biotin, which really isn't going to do anything if you're not biotin deficient. But what I think sets Nutrafol apart is that they really focus on addressing various root causes of hair thinning. So for example, they include nootropics like ashwagandha and theanine to reduce the impact of the stress response on hair growth. They also have a bunch of antioxidants like curcumin, astaxanthin, and resveratrol, which helps target the inflammatory causes of hair thinning. They've got collagen and keratin, which are the actual protein building blocks of hair. Plus they've got DHT blockers like maca and saw palmetto that act on the hormone that often is to blame for shrinking hair follicles and hair thinning. It also has bacillus strain probiotics, which I love because the health of our gut directly affects the health of everything else, including our hair. So it really ticks all the boxes for me without me having to try a million different things. Plus it's third-party tested, which you guys know I am all for, and they even have published clinical trials. So this absolutely helped me fill in the gaps over the past few months while I was struggling to get the nutrition that I really needed. Consistency is really important with this, but I have noticed some really, really great outcomes so far. So my hair shedding is basically back to baseline since I started it, and I've noticed a lot of improved hair growth. So if you want to try out Nutrafol yourself, check out the link in the description to get $50 off your first 3 months or $106 off of your first 6 months. Okay friends, let's dive in with some of the top tips we see making the rounds on Skinny Talk.
If you want to stay small, you eat small. If you want to be big, you eat big.
All right, we are starting off with a bang, aka the phrase that I discussed on TikTok that landed me in hot water with a very mad army of Skinny Talk warriors. Now, I already made a whole video responding to Mina on TikTok, so you can watch that if you want to know the tea. But let's talk about one of Mina's favorite mantras, eat small to be small. So first of all, I absolutely see where Mina was going here. Like, of course, we need a calorie deficit to lose weight, and that may involve managing portion sizes. Plus, of course, we know that portion sizes in general, like at restaurants, have only increased over time. So that's a very important consideration, and portion control does absolutely work for people. But the phrase eat small to be small can be super misleading because it's implying that to lose weight, all you need to do is eat as little as possible. That's wrong. In fact, science shows that most people have success doing the opposite. So as I discussed in my video right here, all of the best research on sustainable weight loss shows that the most important factor for weight loss is not metabolism or exercise or meal timing. It actually comes down to how well your diet helps you reduce your hunger and appetite. And the best way to do that while in a calorie deficit is by focusing on calorie density. Calorie density refers to the amount of calories per gram of food. And as world-renowned obesity researcher Kevin Hall points out, calorie density is the strongest factor associated with how many calories somebody eats in a meal. And that's because research has found that even if the calories in the foods you choose changes, the total amount of food in grams that we eat in a day or eat in a meal generally remains the same. In other words, if you're used to eating this much food, you are going to be way more likely to sustain and feel full on this meal versus that meal, even if you've duped your body into eating fewer calories when you have the meal salad versus the original. The actual volume of food does matter. So of course you can create a calorie deficit and therefore lose weight a myriad of ways, including just like eating Twinkies. Weight loss is actually way easier when we eat big. And this is why I created my hunger crushing combo model, which can easily be adapted specifically for weight loss goals. Within the HCC framework, we want to choose foods that have a high satiety to low calorie density, which essentially helps to distend your stomach and digest food more slowly to keep you feeling fuller, while releasing higher levels of satiety hormones like leptin. So that generally means lots of high fiber fruits and veggies and whole grains, lean protein, and whole food fats that offer more volume and satiety compounds than oils. And this isn't even speaking to the fact that it's virtually impossible to get the actual nutrients you need, like all of your protein and fiber and antioxidants, when we're only eating just like a few bites of food for a meal. Healthy, sustainable weight loss is all about maximizing the quality nutrition that you can get on a limited number of calories, not achieving a calorie deficit by whatever means possible. And this brings me to a related series of sentiments about hunger.
When your stomach is grumbling, think of it as applause.
A lot of folks on Skinny Talk seem to live by this idea that if you're not chronically and aggressively hungry, you're doing it wrong. And I beg to differ. First of all, it is totally normal to feel some hunger during a calorie deficit, especially at the start, because when our body isn't getting the amount of calories that it's used to getting, it tries to compensate and get you to eat more by increasing our hunger hormone ghrelin and decreasing our fullness hormones like CCK, peptide YY, and leptin. And this isn't a bad thing. It's actually an adaptive mechanism because our body is hardwired for survival. But obviously, yes, it makes weight loss a lot more miserable. That said, if you are always ravenous and constantly thinking about food from the moment you go to bed to the moment you wake up and all the moments in between, it's a really good sign that you're making some big weight loss mistakes. So mistake number one, your calorie deficit is likely far too aggressive. So research suggests that if we want to lose fat and maintain muscle, we want to stick to around 1% of body weight loss per week, or around 1 to 2 pounds max. Mistake number two, you're choosing the wrong food. So again, we want to think about calorie density and double down on those hunger crushing combos to maximize our satiety to calorie ratio. And mistake number three, you're probably causing excess stress from that restriction that may actually hinder your weight loss. So for example, if your hunger is affecting your sleep quality and your cortisol levels, as it would if your stomach was grumbling and waking you up to beg for a snack, you may actually be putting yourself at greater risk of belly fat gain and increased cravings. I obviously cannot promise that you won't feel any hunger while on a weight loss diet, but that being like a litmus test of a good diet is really just bad weight loss advice at best and kind of disordered at worst. Let's see what's next. So Liv Schmidt has affectionately coined this breakfast her morning hunger crushing combo. And I'm not sure if that was like a dig at my HCC method, which is trademarked, by the way, Liv, just so you know. But either way, we need to talk. As I mentioned, the hunger crushing combo, aka protein, fiber, and healthy fats, is an additive, non-restrictive framework for building balanced meals and snacks. The idea is that rather than taking foods away as so many other diets, like even Skinny Talk might suggest doing, we are focusing on what we can add to a meal or snack to make it more satiating. So the big goal is to include as many hunger-crushing compounds as possible to optimize nutrition, satiety, and blood sugar regulation. Obviously, Liv and I are operating on different definitions of what a combo would entail, because while yes, we love a protein shake for crushing hunger, as protein is the king of the satiety hierarchy, but a protein shake alone, especially one made with just like milk or water, will never be a meal. And that's why my new Theory 2-1 plant-based probiotic protein powder is not a meal replacement. It is just a starting place for building balanced meals and snacks. Now, electrolytes, on the other hand, aren't part of my hunger crushing combo framework because they don't actually crush hunger. They provide no actual energy, aka calories, and they do not trigger satiety hormones. Like, the best that they can do is contribute to hydration status, which I guess could reduce the risk of falsely attributing hunger to thirst cues, maybe? But if you're having just under 200 calories for a meal, your hunger that you're experiencing is legit. You're just kind of like pacifying it or drowning it out with flavored water. This is kind of similar to using caffeine to give you false energy in lieu of actual energy that your body needs to work.
I really need coffee.
So yeah, starting your day with a super low calorie meal like this is often a recipe for later cravings, which for a lot of people could result in a binge. All right, next.
Kate replied, "There's nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. That's one of them." Her comments have
The age-old eat an apple if you are truly hungry hack that has been floating around in diet circles for decades. The idea here is if you want to eat, the litmus test for if it's actual biological hunger, that your body needs those calories versus just a craving, is that you would be willing to eat something kind of boring like an apple. But it's important to know that there are so many reasons that we eat beyond just physical hunger. Sometimes we decide to preempt hunger with a snack because you're running errands and you know that dinner will be late. Or maybe you're kind of feeling full or satisfied, but it's your birthday, so of course you're going to enjoy the cake. Sure, you can try eating an apple when that Oreo craving hits, but more often than not, this may trigger what I call the satisfaction hunt. You eat the apple, but obviously that doesn't hit the spot, so you try to wait it out, but then you end up nibbling on like a chocolate protein bar, and then some rice cakes, and then some protein chips, and then literally anything that you have in the fridge until none of those things actually do the trick, so you end up eating several Oreos anyway. Had we just allowed ourselves the Oreo that we wanted, we could have crushed the craving and moved on, having eaten fewer calories overall. And this is one of the reasons why my hunger crushing combo works so well for people. Because you take your fear food or that bad food you're not allowing yourself to have and build onto it, allowing you both emotional satisfaction and physical satiety. So that could mean having the apple with the Oreo. Remember, we can't make all foods nutritionally equal, but if we make them morally equal and take away their power and allure, we're actually less likely to eventually just throw in the towel with a massive binge. Okay, last one here.
all of that ice cream that you were eating in private right now will be seen in public in 3 months.
Okay, I just thought we would end with these kind of skinny talk motivational quotes, we will call them, which there are dozens and dozens of variations of online. But skinny talk is notorious for its cruel, kind of tough love approach, which is in stark departure from the more gentle and compassionate, balanced approaches that myself and basically all dietitians tend to promote. As I discussed in my video on the origins of skinny talk, it's the pendulum swing back towards this kind of like Biggest Loser weight loss coaching style. And if you lived through that era, I think you probably know that nothing good came of it. But that's TV drama. Let's look at the data. Research suggests that not only does shame, guilt, and self-loathing tactics exacerbate fat phobia and weight stigma, but it clearly shows that it results in poorer weight loss outcomes and increased disordered eating. Berating yourself or others does not work for the vast majority of people because the behavior change is coming from a place of self-loathing, not self-care. So like, you might be motivated for a couple weeks, but staying in that place of shame and inner turmoil is not conducive to long-term change. Now, there are obviously so many tips that I could comment on, some of which, as I said earlier, I actually do support, at least in isolation. So if you want another video on the good of skinny talk, or also more thoughts on other problematic tips that you'd like my take on, definitely leave me a note below. And if you're looking to lose weight in a sustainable and healthy way for your body, I highly recommend seeking the support of a registered dietitian. And I also have a bunch of really great episodes here on my YouTube channel that I will link below, as well as one on my podcast, Fight Back, with my colleague, Eric Williamson. So definitely check those out. And I will see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Bye.